Good morning. How you doing? Happy Friday Eve. It's Thursday, November 21st, 7:16 in the morning here in Western Iowa. I have a meeting later this morning, so I'm recording early. Maybe this will be a thing. Anyway, Friday Eve makes the weekend seem closer, guaranteed. All right, here's your weather spotlight. Jumping right into Green Bay, Wisconsin, winter weather advisories today. They also have wind advisories to go with that winter weather advisory. And we're seeing a little bit of snow, depending on your proximity, to the snow band, I guess. Not necessarily coming off the lake, but maybe that's a little bit of it, but also just the way the low is. But 2 to 4 or 1 to 3. Or up to half inch, depending on where you are, in the Green Bay proximity. So a snowy, windy day there. Our hazards across the country, the rest of y'all, and us too. Let's start out east. Freeze watches for the Carolinas, North Carolina and South Carolina. I was right, Virginia a little bit. We also have winter weather advisories for many areas here from Indiana into Kentucky, along the Appalachians, and then some of that's winter storm warnings for West Virginia into Pennsylvania. Winter storm warnings also Pennsylvania into New York, and then winter weather advisories around that as well, and even a winter storm watch for parts of Pennsylvania and New York. We've got wind issues for Illinois, eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin as well, with wind advisories here. And of course, there's our winter weather advisory from Green Bay through Milwaukee down to Chicago. Also in Montana, Idaho, into eastern Washington, winter weather advisories here with a little bit of a winter storm warning. And then wind, an issue along the Oregon coast, Washington coast. Some of this is high wind watch. Very windy conditions with a very strong low off the Washington coast. And then a stream of moisture heading into Northern California. We call that the atmospheric river, which could bring not only lots of rain, but also some flooding with that lots of rain. And lots of snow in the Sierra Nevada. Winter storm warnings here also for the Siskiyous. All right, let's take a look real quick. Let's see if I can go real quick on the GFS model. Starting out this morning, here's our low in the Great Lakes. Snow rotating around that, and then with our cold front, we have some rain and snow here, heavy at times. And then our big Pacific Northwest storm, the low is well offshore, but again, a stream of moisture just right over Northern California with the heavy rain and the heavy snow here, and then lighter amounts as you get into the Pacific Northwest. And so here we go through the day today. Our low meandering around here with the snow in Green Bay, Wisconsin, down to Chicago. Very heavy rainfall into Northern California. A little bit of rain and snow. New York State also rotating around here in Ohio and West Virginia and Kentucky and Virginia. And this gets us into Friday. Well, not yet. Here's midnight tonight, as the low has now focused further into the eastern Great Lakes. Still light snow, Kentucky, West Virginia, even in parts of Tennessee. The low gets closer to the Oregon coast with still very heavy rainfall here and snow inland as we get into the day Friday, which is tomorrow. And heavy snow focus moves into Washington State. And then we still have heavy rain, though, down here in California. Meanwhile, our low in the eastern Great Lakes, dumping snow, Pennsylvania especially, but also West Virginia back into Ohio and New York State. Getting a little bit into Maryland here. As that low kind of moves offshore, we're getting some snow throwing back into New England, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts included in that. And our big storm out west, moving south into California, so very heavy rainfall. San Francisco, Sacramento, moving down to Fresno, and further down the coast. As we get into Saturday now, this takes us to noon Central Time. So the cool air along the Great Lakes and into the east. Things calming down in the East Coast, but very windy here to start your weekend. Snow in the northern Rockies and inland in the Pacific Northwest. And then as this storm continues to rotate off the coast, we're seeing, enough moisture, enough cold air for some snow. In fact, this looks like another cold front moving into Montana Saturday night with some snow around that. And as we get into Sunday now, this gets us into Sunday early morning. Sunday morning, we see a little bit of light snow in North Dakota moving into Minnesota. We still have some rain here in California. Just unbelievable. Lots of wind here in New England and cold, so it's going to be a cold weekend for much of New England, and a little bit of snow. And then as we go into Sunday night, we see our rain moving further south into California, snow in the mountains, snow in Nevada, moving into Utah and Wyoming and Colorado. Light snow up here in parts of the Great Lakes, Wisconsin, for example. Cold front now moving south as we get into the day Monday. This is Monday at noon, and so we'll watch that cold front. We've got some more showers moving across the east, kind of unsettled for the west, and again, colder air sinking south, at least into the northern plains and upper Midwest. Then as we get into the day, the 26th, this is Tuesday, heading towards Thanksgiving, so we're getting to the busy travel time of the year. Not too much weather to worry about, just light snow scattered throughout. Here's some heavier rain for Virginia into Maryland. This is Wednesday early morning. This is Wednesday morning. This is Wednesday at noon. Heavier showers busting out. Missouri and Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, moving into the southeast. Heavier rain from Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas into the mid-Atlantic. This is still Thursday night-ish. Colder air sinking further south. So this is actually Wednesday night, and this is the night before Thanksgiving, and all through the house. Not a creature was stirring. Never mind. That's the wrong one. Even a turkey mouse. All right, cold front moving through the southeast, heavy rainfall here. A little bit of snow back into Pennsylvania. The cold air sinking into the southern plains, not quite West Texas, but moving southward. We've got some snow. On Thanksgiving morning, this is noontime Thanksgiving, so light snow into Pennsylvania, into New Jersey, into West Virginia, and that cold air sinks not as much south as it goes east, but it's going to be pretty chilly. Nationwide for Thanksgiving, the exception is going to be down here in the southwest and the south central part of the country, where it won't be quite as cold. Light snow moving across the Great Lakes as we get into the day after Thanksgiving. So definitely cold turkey here, leftover snow for New Mexico into Arizona. This is the 30th, not quite. It's midnight, the 29th. So Friday night, we're starting to see a little bit of a snowstorm. Maybe the snow is too light to call it that. South Dakota, Nebraska into where I live. And it gets pretty substantial. So yeah, I would call that a snowstorm with some rain on the south side as we get into the last day of the month. And that snow moves into the Midwest, parts of the Great Lakes, and even Tennessee, is that you, cuz? Are you getting snow on the first day of December? I know you hope not. And of course, this is all subject to change because we're getting pretty far out there, but something to look out for as we get into December. Could be a pretty nice storm moving across the Midwest, parts of the Southeast, and then up the coast with wind and snow. All right, 24-hour temperature change this morning. It is much cooler southeast. East Texas through the southeast, mid-Atlantic, and the Great Lakes, and the northern plains. Much warmer as you get into the Rockies. All right. I'm going to go through the anomalous temperatures through the weekend just to show you the trends. Excuse me. So here's today, cooler than average, Midwest, Great Lakes into Kentucky, the Ohio Valley. Warmer in the southwest and the west. And as we go to tomorrow's anomalous temperatures, that cold air moves east. So again, tomorrow, we're starting to see warmer air poke into the plains. Saturday, things moderate on the East Coast and warming up again a little bit on the plains, cooling off northern plains. And then Sunday, cold air making more progress into Montana, Wyoming, and the Dakotas, and warming up from Texas up into Iowa. All right, today's surface looks like this. There's your Great Lakes storm with rain and snow, heavy snow, especially Pennsylvania, New York, into West Virginia. And then the West Coast, we have our atmospheric river into Northern California. Very heavy rain here, flooding possible. Also into Southern Oregon, and otherwise it's rain and snow with heavy snow Oregon into Idaho. north of Boise. Highs today, pretty chilly here, like upper 30s near 40 where I live in western Iowa. Further north and west, temperatures drop off 30s, 20s, even teens in North Dakota. Further south, we're still looking at 58 Amarillo, 61 Lubbock, 64 Roswell. Then 70s when you get into South Texas, 70s, even near 80 for Florida, of course. Much of the Southeast, though, 50s and 60s, and then 40s as you get into the Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and 40s and 50s Northwest. Lows tomorrow morning quite low as you get all the way down into northern Arkansas, temperatures in the 20s and to near 30. Same for Missouri, where I live here in Iowa. And then colder, of course, northern plains. Rockies pretty chilly. 40s to start out tomorrow, northwest, depending on where you are. 50s, Central California. 50s for southern Texas, and otherwise 40s in the southeast, and then 30s. There's a pocket there. Surface for tomorrow looks like this. Our low in the Great Lakes moves into the eastern Great Lakes. Heavy snow possible, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York State. Rain and snow, wind also. So it's getting colder, feeling colder in the northeast, even down to Kentucky and Tennessee and Virginia and North Carolina, the mountains seeing some snow. Meanwhile, our Pacific Northwest storm continues to bring heavy rain for Northern California, with heavy rain, flash flooding possible. Could see a stripe of freezing rain, Washington, Idaho, Montana. And so kind of a mess up there. Highs tomorrow, warming up here in Iowa, a few degrees, so 40s. 50s into Kansas and Oklahoma, 60s and 70s for Texas, 50s and some 40s in the southeast, 40s for the Ohio River Valley, but 30s in the mountains with a chance of snow there. Also 30s as you head into New England with some 40s, 50s in the Pacific Northwest. Rainfall-wise, or precipitation-wise, I should say, well, there you are, California. 6-8 inches of snow, or rain, or the liquid equivalent for the mountains. That's just going to be very heavy. And so rivers running full. The Russian River up there, it's beautiful. Might be flooding. Then you get into the Oregon coast, say, inch and a half of rain, something like that. And then, of course, inland, it's going to be rain or snow depending on elevation. For the Northeast, same thing. You've got rain or snow equivalent depending on where you are in, say, Pennsylvania into New York. So, but an inch and a half or so, approaching 2 inches liquid equivalent. Where would that fall as snow and how much? So, West Virginia into Pennsylvania, parts of New York could see over a foot of snow, 16 inches or so. And then same for the mountains in the west. Idaho, the big winner here, 1.5 feet, approaching 2 feet of snow for some. And then in the plains right along the Canadian border, maybe up to 4 or 5 inches there. Surface on Saturday. As we get into your weekend forecast, the west is still a mess, but rain further south into California. Heavy snow, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, some freezing rain, maybe Montana. And there you see the snow extending into the northern plains. Still rain or snow for the Appalachians, moving into the eastern Great Lakes there. And so now we'll just go through the highs Sunday through the rest of the week, just so you can see the trends. So you can see where the 70s are in Texas, 60s moving into the Central Plains, even near 50 here in Iowa. So warming up this weekend for the plains, except for along the Canadian border where it's getting cooler. And so we go into Monday. You can see where the cold air is advancing from the north. Tuesday, same, a little bit more. Wednesday, all of those high temperatures getting shunted further to the south as the cold air invades. Thursday, turning colder. This is Thanksgiving. We'll show this to you again. And then we go into Friday, day after Thanksgiving, a big cool off all the way down to the Gulf Coast with highs in the low 50s. Well, 62 for Houston. But a lot of 50s in the southeast, except on the other side of the cold front where it'll stay in the 60s and 70s. Saturday, though, that cold front moves through the southeast, and we start to see some of the warmth return into Texas. And then Sunday, everything kind of evens out, but still chilly. Like we're in the 20s here in Iowa. So we're making that transition to more winter-like weather. And to show you that, 8 to 14 day temperatures, like the whole country below average pretty much. Southeast near normal, and then above average for Florida. There you see Alaska and Hawaii. Hawaii quite warm. And for precipitation, well, from the Great Lakes down to the East Coast, down to Florida, down to the eastern Gulf Coast, I should say, of Texas even. And then also Rockies into the plains, above average, below average, California, Arizona, New Mexico, far west Texas. Thanksgiving, your highs once again, 40s for the Willamette Valley and the coastal Oregon areas, 30s inland, 30s and 20s for the Rockies, 50s Central California, 60s to near 70 Southwest, and also, Texas is like a whole other country. You go from 44 Amarillo to, 90 for McAllen. Crazy. 40s in the Central Plains, 30s here in Iowa in the Midwest, and 20s, I should say. And then teens up there in North Dakota, also northern Montana. A big swath of 40s through the Ohio Valley, including Kentucky, and then moving into the Northeast. But we see some 50s to near 60 for Tennessee, and 70s for the Southeast and Florida. So that's your story for the highs on Thanksgiving. Here's snow on the ground for Thanksgiving. And just a slight chance for a little bit here in western Iowa, maybe up to an inch where I live. We'll see. And, if it does fall, it's going to be the night before or the day before to the night before. And so people are traveling. I'm okay if we don't have a white Thanksgiving. I kind of prefer it personally, but not at the expense of people's safety, I guess. But not that I have any control over it. So there is that. But you see where the snow is, of course, Rockies and the mountains in the west. And then along the Great Lakes, northern plains, that's where we see the best chance for a white Thanksgiving, and up into New England. All right, there's your forecast through the weekend or your time back. We actually went through next weekend too, and a closer look at Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoyed it. I love bringing it to you, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in, The Weather Mike.